Hello everyone, it is Tuesday. It's December 29th, it is 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and that means it's time for another episode of First Chapter Fun. This is episode 120. 120. That is completely bananas, completely off the charts nuts, and I love it. So welcome. Hello everyone, I see that I'm live on Facebook, I think I'm going to see the comments. I can't see them yet, but let's hope that they're there. I see Hank, hi Hank, I see Al and Glennie and Catlaw too. Hello everyone, how was your weekend? How was your Christmas if you celebrate Christmas? Or how is your Kwanzaa if you are still celebrating Kwanzaa? Hanukkah was before, wasn't it? Ended December 18th, I believe. But how was last week? I hope you had fun. We celebrate Christmas. It was very quiet. It was the five of us. We stayed up on Christmas Eve, which I think is my favourite part of the Christmas holiday. The anticipation, I think that's what I like the most. We stayed up with the lads and watched Die Hard because it is a Christmas movie. Well, I think so anyway. So we stayed up and watched that. And I decided to make this slow cooker brisket for Christmas dinner. We're not big turkey fans. And I thought it was a great idea because you bung it in the slow cooker and then forget about it. But I'd forgotten I had to switch it on at 7 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, I was up early for ages because we have teens and of course they slept in late, so I don't think we opened gifts until around, I don't know, 11 o'clock or something. But anyway, it was fun. How about you? I hope you had a great time. Now, I'm not seeing any comments at all on Facebook, so let me just do one thing. Catlaw says Die Hard is a Christmas movie. It is. I see lots of comments on Facebook, so I'm going to go actually onto the Facebook video and watch them there, because even though I see there's a delay now, so I'm watching myself on the video on Facebook, which is really weird, and there's a delay because I started it later. But anyway, I see comments now. I see lots of people. Lise has joined, and Anissa, and Susan, and Brenda, and Debro. Oh, and Lise says Christmas was very lonely. I'm so sorry to hear that. I know it's a really, really difficult time for my dad too. My mum passed away in July, so they're in Switzerland, and my dad was alone at Christmas, because of course he didn't want to mix households with my sister and her sons, so he was alone at Christmas, and that made me feel really sad. But we got him on FaceTime, and we got him on video as we were opening gifts and stuff, so he celebrated with us a little bit. But yeah, this has been a weird year. Is everyone ready for 2021? I saw this meme the other day. Does anyone realise that 2021 means 2020 space 1 WON? Oh, I didn't think of that. That's just awful. I don't like that. I'm ready for the new year. I'm ready to see this whole COVID stuff behind us. I'm ready to roll up my sleeve and get a vaccine whenever I can, so I can get on a plane and go and see my dad. That's really my big wish for 2021. Not doing the whole resolution thing, but we'll talk about that more on Thursday, because we're not leaving you hanging, of course, on New Year's Eve, obviously. You know this by now. Hank, Philip, Ryan and I, Hannah Mary McKinnon, will be here with First Chapter Fun on Thursday at 12:30 p.m. as well. So, did a lot of ado already, and I haven't even told you about today's book or what First Chapter Fun is, if this is the first time you've joined. So let me start back at the beginning. So First Chapter Fun is a wonderful little half-hour bubble twice a week where Hank, Philip, Ryan, my fellow partner in fictional crime, and myself, Hannah Mary McKinnon, read the first chapter of other authors' books every Tuesday and Thursday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And we've been doing this, started in March, and it was daily at the beginning, now it's twice a week. And this is episode 120. So because, you know, we want to make sure that your to be read piles and lists are completely out of control and remain so, you can actually go and watch every single episode you've missed, because they are all on our IGTV, because I'm broadcasting on Instagram on my phone here. And I'm also broadcasting on Facebook up here, although it doesn't seem to, I seem to be frozen on Facebook now. Which leads me on very nicely to, if there are technical problems, and sometimes they are, Facebook can freeze or boot us out, or Instagram does that too sometimes. Generally, we go, depending on the time when the broadcast was interrupted, we go back and start the broadcast again. But I do hope that I'm still broadcasting on Facebook. Hank, can you let me know if I'm frozen? Oh no, Anissa says TBR mountains, not piles. Oh dear. Oh, Hank says I'm fine on Facebook. Good, it's just frozen for me, which is great because it's less distracting anyway. So Susan says I'm very ready for the new year, and Barbara says hello from North Carolina, which is amazing. Very excited that, oh, and I'm unfrozen, unstuck on Facebook. It's so weird. And Daniel Ford, hurrah, is here. I spot Daniel, and it's from Daniel's book that we are reading today, SID Sanford Lives by Daniel Ford. And I'm very excited to introduce you to this book today on one of the last days of December. So let me tell you a little bit about Daniel, who is watching on Facebook. I don't know if I've spotted Daniel yet on Instagram, but either way, he's definitely watching on Facebook. Thank you, Daniel, for letting us read for you today. So if you have any questions or comments, something you'd like to ask Daniel about his book, about Writer's Bone, which I'll tell you about in a minute, or what he's working on now, or whatever you like, leave a comment on Facebook. On Instagram, it's a bit tricky because the comments, while I love seeing them, and please don't stop commenting, they disappear when we move the video when we move it from live to the broadcast, to IGTV. All of the comments, all of your lovely comments disappear, but we always read through them as we can on screen when we're live. So don't you dare stop commenting. But now, let me introduce you to today's book, SID Sanford Lives by Daniel Ford. This is what we're reading from today, and you're in for a treat. So let me put my glasses on so I'm not blind as a bat, and introduce you to Daniel. Daniel Ford is the author of SID Sanford Lives and the short story collection Black Coffee. He's also the co-founder of Writer's Bone, a literary podcast and website that champions aspiring and established authors. Hold on, I'll read the rest before I make a comment. A Bristol, Connecticut native and long-time Queens, New York transplant, Daniel now lives with his wife Stephanie in Boston's North End, where coffee and cannoli are always within arm's reach. And that sounds good to me. Now, Daniel is so supportive of other authors. Just incredible. He has this podcast, I can't find the word there, podcast on Writer's Bone. So that's writersbone.com, where he interviews authors. And we did an interview together, and it was just a short one, about 15 minutes, kind of a bite-sized little interview. And it was such a pleasure. And he's constantly promoting other authors, championing other authors, which is just incredible. So a massive shout out to Daniel, not just for his own writing, but also for the support he provides to so many other authors, which is tireless and so appreciated and incredible. So thank you, Daniel. I'm going to show you the book again, SID Sanford Lives. You're going to like this one. It's funny. You're going to like it. And poignant, and so many things. Now you'll find Daniel, dead easy to find him, danielfford.com, that's his website. On Twitter, Daniel F. Ford, dead easy. On Facebook, tagged in this post, Daniel Ford author, and on Instagram, dford22. And of course, we only ever read books with the author's permission, Daniel in this case, and with the publisher's permission too, which is 50/50 Press. So a big shout out to them as well for allowing us to bring this book to you today. So the back cover copy of SID Sanford Lives. What is this book about? Well, let me tell you. Riffing on noir and told in a series of vignettes, SID Sanford Lives douses humanistic themes, love, loss and family, in bourbon, shoves them in the barrel of a gun and shoots. SID Sanford always follows a path, just not his own. From backyard wiffle ball games to New York City skyscrapers, Sid finds triumph and pain in equal measure during his uncertain and at times violent thrust into manhood. A colourful, loyal family, a plethora of eccentric friends, and a few star-crossed soulmates highlight his journey. But it's ultimately up to Sid whether his destiny fulfills his potential or drowns in the bottom of a bottle. And here's a quote from W.B. Belcher, author of Lay Down Your Weary Tune, who says, Daniel Ford knocks the stuffing out of SID Sanford only to skillfully stitch him back together, presenting a complex, flawed and compelling character. SID Sanford Lives is a wry, touching and captivating portrait of the highs and lows that make up a life. I don't know about you, but that sounds like fun to me. And there's the cover again before I go into the first chapter. SID Sanford Lives, an excellent novel that I highly encourage you to check out. Different from we read a lot of thrillers here, so this is different, and you're gonna like it. So let me read you the first chapter of SID Sanford Lives, or part of the first chapter of SID Sanford Lives by Daniel Ford. Here we go. Pastime. The man yawned. He stretched out his arthritic fingers and gripped the steering wheel. Almost home, Kenneth Sanford said out loud. The radio shouted at him. The talk show host was angry and letting his listeners know it. He could usually put up with the back and forth between the right and left wing, but not today. He changed the setting to play a random CD. It didn't take long to recognise Neil Young's voice. Hello, cowgirl in the sand, Kenneth sang. Is this place at your command? He turned the car off the main drag and onto a side street. He waved to his elderly neighbours who were pulling up weeds in their yard as he pulled into his driveway. He only had two things on his mind now as he turned off his car, his boys and his wife. He reached for the mug he'd discarded on the floor. He decided he was too lazy to reach into the back seat and collect the tie he tossed there at the end of the day. It could wait until tomorrow morning when he needed it again. Kenneth had barely walked in the door when he heard his wife yell, "You're cooking burgers on the grill, get moving!" "Sounds good, Gail," he said. "I'm just going to change first." He walked into the kitchen, needing his wife's love, no matter how abrupt it might be. "Have a good day?" she asked, kissing him on the lips while pulling the mayo out of the fridge at the same time. "Not exactly, but it's over now and that's all that matters." Kenneth pulled her close and put his head on her shoulder. "Okay, you can love me later," Gail said. "We need to feed these kids." "But I want to love you now." "Hurry up." Kenneth plodded upstairs to their bedroom. He gripped the railing to give some extra support to his creaky knees. He unbuttoned his white shirt with his free hand. He reached the top landing and felt the ache of work dissipate. He parked his arse on the edge of his bed and kicked off his clunky black shoes. He tore off the rest of his monotone uniform and stretched out his aching legs. He stepped out of his falling pants as he headed towards his dresser. He caught himself in the mirror after tossing his wallet and keys into his top drawer. "Holy shit, Sanford," he said, flattening his middle-aged gut. An angry customer's voice echoed inside his tired mind. "This circular clearly states," the high-strung woman said.
"Ma'am, I know what it says,"
Kenneth said.
"I help write it every week."
"Then you should know."
"I know that I'm right and you're wrong. Feel free to bring it up with customer service."
"I did."
"And what? Can't you see that I'm busy?"
"They said to tell you the ad is incorrect."
"Well, let me just put a bullet in my brain, lady,"
Kenneth yelled, dropping the yoghurt containers he had piled on his arm. "How dare you?" she said as she walked away. "I hope you teach your kids to act better than this." Kenneth didn't hear anything about it from his managers, so she must have just left the store without trying to get him in further trouble. Things had never deteriorated that badly. He usually just rolled with whatever jabs the customers threw at him and did the best he could. However, management's daily meeting revealed another restructuring, which meant he'd have to learn a whole new job on the fly without a pay rise.
"You're home now,"
he mumbled.
"Let it go."
He rummaged through his dresser and pulled out the navy blue Yankee shirt his boys had given him last Father's Day. He put it on along with a pair of cargo shorts. After pulling on a pair of soft white socks and his sneakers, he felt more human. Thwack! A white ball smacked the bedroom window, causing Kenneth to jump. He pushed the curtains back. He watched Sid running around the bases while his youngest raced after the ball. In the kitchen, Gail paused. She didn't know where to start. Focus, she thought. She first filled her soda cup, which her men teased her about, calling it her bubba. She was particular about it, yes, preferring to fill it all the way up with ice first, and then pour as much Diet Coke as the cup would allow. That way, she had a perfectly chilled drink for hours, especially if she got sucked into a Lifetime movie and didn't feel like trudging back into the kitchen. She wouldn't let her husband or sons refill it for her, no matter how many times they offered. They never got the combination right, and she was left with either a watered-down Diet Coke or a lukewarm one within the hour. Gail tied her apron and dumped the pile of seasoned meat into her favourite mixing bowl. She squished the right mixture of spices into the pink chow and then formed perfect patties. Ronnie Millsap's voice honky-tonked out of her radio. "Woo!" she cheered. Gail washed her hands and danced over to turn up the volume. Between the music and the Diet Coke, she got everything else done well before her husband returned. She sat at the kitchen table, reading her romance paperback as he shuffled into the kitchen.
"Wow," Kenneth said. "You make it so easy for me."
"Lord knows I have to," she said. "If I didn't, none of you Sanfords would be of any use to society."
"Ouch. Remember who's grilling your hamburgers."
He grabbed the tray with one shaky hand. "Two hands," she said, cringing.
"I've got it."
"No, you don't."
"I do too."
Kenneth tripped over his own feet and the tray slipped out of his hand, crashing back to the counter. Gail leapt up just in time to catch the patty that jumped ship. "Told you didn't have it," Gail said.
"Jesus," he said. "Can't do anything right today."
"I still love you to pieces," she said, kissing his 5 o'clock shadow. "Why don't you start up the grill? Say hello to Sid and Patrick, and I'll send these out with Tom in a couple of minutes." Kenneth nodded and opened the door to the back porch. "Take his Sam with you," Gail said. The family's black lab wormed his way out from under the kitchen table, nearly knocked her over, and bounded happily after his owner. "Wait, I almost forgot something," Gail said. "I made my man a drink."
"Thanks," Kenneth said. "I could really use it."
"What happened that has you all discombobulated?" she asked, handing her husband a gin and tonic.
"Nothing, just one of those days."
"You sure?"
"Yeah."
"You tell me, right?"
"Yeah."
"Promise?"
"Promise."
"Okay, get to work." she said. Gail didn't mean to worry so much, but she sensed a weariness haunting Kenneth the last few days. She didn't know how he dealt with all those customers every day. She had her own struggles dealing with patients at the doctor's office, but they were lambs compared to the grocery store's clientele. Her mother had been a worrier, so Gail had vowed early in their marriage that she would never be like that. She tried her best to be as even-keeled as her husband, but it never quite worked out that way. It just didn't fit her personality. She had accepted that, to some degree, but it didn't mean she felt good about it. Gail had some legitimate reasons for stressing as much as she did. Both her and her husband had suffered through one job after another that might have been fulfilling if it weren't for the people they worked under. Gail had found a doctor that not only realised her value, but also was as useless without her as the Sanford men were. But Kenneth hadn't been so lucky. He was one of the hardest workers she'd ever known, but he could never catch a break. There was always someone else who had all of the flash and got all the promotions, while Kenneth, all substance, got left behind. It wasn't in his nature to fight back. Even when she urged him to rip people's heads off, he made her believe that he could withstand anything for their family. However, that didn't stop Gail from wanting to scream most days. How long could they keep this up? How were they going to move beyond putting food on the table and clothes on their backs to putting their 3 brilliant kids through college? When was their bad luck finally going to get the best of them? Before she went to get Tom, she looked out of the window and watched her 2 younger sons chasing after each other in the backyard. Someone had hit the wiffle ball in Sam's direction and he gobbled it up. They chased him down and pulled the slimy ball out of his mouth. She smiled, knowing at some point she'd have to break them up after one or the other melted down over a silly argument. But for now, she felt as content as the dog who collapsed in a happy heap next to her husband. That was part of the first, vignette, I guess, rather than chapter, of SID Sanford Lives. And I just love just how human these characters are, you know? I just love I love the dialogue. I love the relationship between the husband and the wife. The dog's kind of funny too. I just absolutely loved that one. So that was not chapter 1, part of vignette, the first vignette of SID Sanford Lives by Daniel Ford. I hope you enjoyed that. I see lots of comments coming up. It's so funny when I see the comments coming in. I can see them moving up and I just want to read them, and I can't because I'm reading to you, but half an eye is looking at them. Lee says, this sounds so intriguing. Diane says, adding to the list. Susan says, oh, this book sounds interesting, one for the TBR pile. And Daniel says, so this opening is very much inspired by my father, who is likely the closest any of these characters are to real life. I love that. That's brilliant. Yes, and there was a Neil Diamond song, but you're not going to catch me singing. The last time I sang was when one of my kids Leo was probably about 4, and he said, oh no, mummy, please don't sing. So now I do sing now just to annoy them, except he doesn't call me mummy anymore, and he's maybe not quite as polite when he asks me to stop. Hank says this Diet Coke detail is so perfect, isn't it though? And Kristen says the details are just beautiful, and it is. It just makes it's just so relatable. That's the word I was looking for. So human, so relatable, and you just want them to, succeed and end up being well, and you want things to work out for them. So I really hope that you'll check this one out too. SID Sanford Lives by Daniel Ford. So that was today's episode of First Chapter Fun. On Thursday, which is New Year's Eve, Good riddance 2020. Hank and I will have a bit of a surprise for you. So we will be here. I'm not going to show you which book we're going to read from. We did that for Christmas Eve on last Thursday, and we read a Christmas Carol, part of a Christmas Carol. If you didn't see that episode, it's of course in our archive, IGTV, and on Facebook under media and videos. You'll find it there too. I'm not going to tell you what we're going to do on Thursday. We'll let it be a surprise. But suffice it to say, we will be here on Thursday, as always, at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And we both very much hope that you'll be joining us to, wave goodbye to 2020 and welcome 2021 with open arms. May 2021 bring quadruple the fun, because 2020, there wasn't much, was there? Except for first chapter fun, of course. Lots of fun here. So once again, I'll show you today's read, SID Sanford Lives, and invite you to tune in to First Chapter Fun on Thursday, December 31st at 12:30 p.m. So until then, please, as always, stay safe, stay kind, and we'll see you on Thursday. Thank you for watching.